Parkrun family, are you in there, out there, around there? We are live on the Parkrun channel. It's sunny again. Oh yes, look, lots of people joining. Hello, hope you're regulars, hope you've been listening to all of our podcasts, waiting for Sophie to join us. This is going to be a really good one. Hot from the newsroom, I think. Thank you for joining, everybody. I can see lots of people. A tennis club, girl running late. Oh, look, I can wave as well. Hello. I hope you're all enjoying the nicer weather. We've had a bit of rain. Garden needed it, didn't it? Hello, hello, hello. Miles and Mummy. Oh yeah, I run miles. Let's have a look. Yep, there's Sophie there. Brilliant. Fantastic. Hi, Nick. Jeff Hills, how are you? I'm good, thank you. Hope you are too. There's Sophie. Hello, Sophie. Can you hear?
Can you hear me all right?
And then it'll sort itself out.
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Hopefully it will anyway. There you are. Brilliant. Can you hear it? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes, absolutely fine.
Brilliant. So you're in the newsroom right now?
I'm in the newsroom. I've just literally come off air 10 minutes ago. Yep.
Well, we are very thankful that you've said you'd join us straight after this. And it's funny because we've just had a chat where you said you've got to run home.
I'm going to run home. I don't normally run in, but it's such a beautiful day today, and I had stuff to do this morning at lunchtime, and I with the big boss here, with Tony Hall. So I thought I'd better not turn up in my running gear. So I'm going to run home instead.
How far is that?
It's whatever. I mean, it's sort of it can be like just under 6 miles, but I sometimes go further, or sometimes it's about 5 or 6 miles. But sometimes I sort of loop around. It depends how I go. There's lots of lovely routes and parks and the river and. So there's some, yeah,
and have you found it nicer because it's quieter? Have you
quiet.
enjoyed it more?
So quiet. I mean, it was extraordinary. The first 3 weeks that I was doing the news when lockdown happened, and I was doing back-to-back bulletins, and there was that real sense of shock across the country and in London, which is a city I've lived in most of my life, to see it empty, and it really was empty. I'd go to all these, I'd run past Trafalgar Square, no one in it, Covent Garden, no one in it, at lunchtime. And I took loads of photographs of that, and it was really weird. Every single day, my jaw dropped. Literally, I'd stop and look around. And I never normally run with music. For years and years and years, I've never run with music. And suddenly I started needing something in my ears because it was so quiet. It was so eerie.
So quiet, yeah.
I started talking to myself as well, which I thought was a bit weird. But anyway, it was just to fill the void. It was so, it's busier than now though. The last couple of weeks, it's definitely busier.
Yeah. I felt like that. I mean, I've changed when I run now. So I used to do the kids' school drop and then I'd run. And it was always busy because that's kind of like peak traffic. But now I run at 6:15. But I have to say, although it is quiet, there are people out there kind of getting their exercise in that little bit. Yeah. I think people are also looking for the quiet times as well, because I don't think necessarily people quite like being around people either. It's a really odd balance, I think.
It's funny. It's strange being a runner. So I live down quite near the Thames, and there's stretches of the Thames where I normally run and it's absolutely fine. And now runners are being stopped running there. And
really?
In the local parks, you can't run. They stop you running. And it's funny. I find that really, and the way people look at you, I mean, I'm sure anyone here who runs will know, the way people look at you now, it's almost like you're a real threat and that you're going to kind of breathe all over them and give them something.
Yeah. I know,
so
it's like you emit more.
So I've actually been running rather than my usual routes along the river and the sort of more the narrower places. I now actually run into town. So I do lots more street running than I used to do. I used to never run on the road, but I've been running on the road a lot more because certainly until about 2 weeks ago, I was running in the road. There was no traffic at all, which was extraordinary in central London. But it's strange the way people now look at you as a runner, although there are so many more people running than there were before.
Let's get started then, Sophie. It's 7:15 and obviously you need to run home, but we're really thankful that you're here. So I'll just do this little introduction and then we can crack on. And a reminder to people who've joined us, thank you everybody who's joined. If you put questions in the comments at the bottom,
HQ, the wonderful Kirsty will pull out the really interesting ones, and we'll put them to Sophie at the end. So let's crack on, Sophie. I'm Helen Williams. I'm parkrun at A6014 and event director of Harrogate Junior Parkrun here in the UK, and alongside Vassos Alexander, the co-presenter of the Free Weekly Time podcast. Before we start, I'd just like to recommend that after this conversation, people check out the many parkrun social media channels in the UK and across the world, as well as subscribing to the various parkrun podcasts out there. You'll find me on the Free Weekly Time podcast, but there's also With Me Now, Parkrun Adventurers, and the 9:30 Club, to name a few others. So for today's question and answers, and that means you have to give questions, so pop them in down below, I'm joined by the fantastic Sophie Raworth. As a senior newsreader on the BBC, Sophie can often be found addressing the nation during the news at 6 or the news at 10. Recently, of course, that has included detailed coverage of the developing coronavirus pandemic. She completed her first parkrun back in 2011 and has continued that habit every year since, a commitment that has seen her walking, jogging, running or volunteering 177 times. During that time, she's achieved an 81% age grade, completed all 6 world major marathons and the infamous Marathon des Sables. Hey, Sophie, how are you?
Love all those stats. I didn't know how to that. I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
That it's a wonderful kind of, I think it's always nice because parkrun's there every week. You forget to kind of look back and see how long ago it was you did it and how many you've done, and they just kind of all melt into one, don't they? So if we talk about the direct issues, which are lockdown, what is life like? We can go on to kind of like home life, and obviously, but you know, your life as a presenter, has it changed as a journalist in terms of your environment and basically lockdown life? And we've just chatted, haven't we, about how different even just running to work has been. How has lockdown life been?
Well, I'm in the newsroom now, and the 6 and 10 team are here. George Alagar has just left. Hugh Edwards is getting ready to do the 10, I think. And it's actually, in terms of the team here, we're pretty well staffed. You can't do it without almost a full team. There are lots of people working from home, but we have a core team who are here. The newsroom has been, I'll show you, the newsroom has been cordoned off, the sort of barriers here, there and everywhere, and sort of arrows on the floor, if you can see over there. So the whole place has been sort of made one way, and only one person's allowed where the tea's made. And they've got a new thing here. As I came in today, they've took our temperature. It's voluntary at the moment, but they're trying that out. So you have your temperature. What I want to know, and I'm going to try it out, is what happens if I run in? I don't know whether does your temperature get raised? Because if your temperature is over 37.8, they won't let you in. So that could be problematic if I run in. I don't know how high my temperature is going to go. I'll try it.
It's going to be an interesting test.
I'm really pleased to be able to still come into work. I love coming in here, and it's brought all of us a lot closer. The whole team, the editorial team, and certainly the first few weeks were hard, were really intense, and really very full on. And it's the first story I've ever done. And we've done a lot of big stories, a lot of disasters, a lot of tragedies over the years. I've been doing this for more than 20 years. But it is the first story I've ever done where you finish at work and you can't just switch off, or you can't get on a plane and go home, or you can't go somewhere else. You go home and it's still there, or you can't go home on the tube because of it all. And it's I know people who've died of it. I know a couple of people who've died of it, and a lot of people who've had it, and some who've been really ill. And it's just it's no escape at all. And we get the full on, you get non-stop information when you're in this newsroom. You're getting the feeds all the time.
Yeah, because so you've kind of got the opposite of what we all use running as a mental health tool. And one of the big tips people have said is if the news is upsetting you, if you'll be sort of depressed by it, switch it off. And of course, you don't have that option, though, do you? You have to immerse yourself in it so fully. And what do you do to switch off? How do you switch off?
I have my running. Thank God for running. I was watching in the weeks, the couple of weeks leading up to our lockdown, and I was reporting obviously on everything that was happening in France and Italy and Spain. And I was getting more and more nervous that our government was going to say you can't run. It's Spain. If you go out and run, I think they're relaxing it now. You can exercise outside now, but for the last 7 or 8 weeks, they've not been allowed to go and run. And if you were caught doing that, you were fined like €500-600. So the notion of not being able to exercise outside was panicking me slightly. I mean, I think a lot of people have taken to running and have really found some solace in running. It is a wonderful way, as everybody knows, of just clearing your mind and just calming you down and thinking about something else, or not very much, really.
I mean, I think you have to think of something else, don't you? And it must be really difficult because you are in it all day long. I mean, I can't imagine there is much more news that you're really looking at other than this. It's so you must go to sleep.
It's just coronavirus at the moment. Yeah, it is absolutely that. Yeah.
So if we just take a little step back then and let's go back to 2011, were you running prior to your first parkrun, or was parkrun you kind of dipped toe back in?
I actually got into parkrun because 2011 was the year I did my first marathon. I'd done a bit of running. I came to running late, so I didn't even run a half marathon. I didn't run at all until I was 38. And then I'd had 2 children, and then I had another child, so it all I didn't really run at all very much until I was 42 or 41. And I started training for the London Marathon because I watched Jenny Faulkner, the TV presenter, cross the finish line at the London Marathon in 2010. And I remember standing there exactly where I was in my house, and she crossed the line. She looked amazing. She'd done it in 3 hours 30. And she said, I owe it all to Karen Weir at Matt Roberts. And I just went Karen Weir, Matt Roberts on Google. And she was a personal trainer who worked at the Matt Roberts gym. And it transpired she is one of the original 13. Karen started parkrun with Paul Sinton Hewitt. So I met Karen, started training with her. She introduced me to parkrun. I used to go to I still do. There's a parkrun in Richmond Park, which was her local one. That's how I began. It was part of my marathon training. She was writing me a plan how to train, and I went there and I met some wonderful people who are all still great friends. I've made some of my best friends through running, and I ran there, and I still do.
And so when you went there as a kind of, Karen said, come on, Sophie, come to this thing called parkrun. What was it that kept you coming back in the interim, that very early days, when you could have just gone and run 5K somewhere, that might have fitted in easier with your schedule or whatever? What was it that made you come back?
I think there's a wonderful thing about parkrun, the fact that the thing I go for. I love the community. I love the people. I see the same people week after week. I got to know the people. I was doing parkrun with them on Saturday, and then we were doing a longer run on Sunday. And also the thing I find, and certainly did then when I started out, was that running at any speed, if I run on my own, and I'm sort of a bit like that now, if I run on my own, I kind of pull back a bit. I don't go as fast as I could. But the minute you put me in a parkrun situation, and I know it's not a race, I'm always told it's not a race, but it does make me run faster, particularly when these little kids, my son comes scooting by. My son now beats me. I've had years of dragging him round, and you get to the sort of 2 mile stage and he's walking, I can't do this and I hate it. And he's 12 now, and he turns around to me and says, do you think there's anybody fast I can run with today? What? So, and he thrashes me. I'm done. Oh. He's got my PB now.
Has he?
Yeah.
By
5 seconds. 5 seconds. 20. He did it in 2025. Yeah. But yeah, it took him a while. It took him a while to get there. But
that's good for 12 though.
He's quite speedy. He's very
really
determined.
Speedy.
Determined to beat his mother, basically.
I was just
good incentive.
Moving on from there, really, was the next question was, how has being a mom impacted your running?
I think, well, I mean, I sort of got into it because of having children. I just thought running would be a good way to get fit after my second child. And so that's how I got into it. And then I think it just gave me a bit of space to begin with. It gave me a bit of space when, work here can be very intense. And obviously I've got 3 kids, and having 3 kids was very intense, particularly when they were younger. They're all now, I mean, I've got 12-year-old, and then I've got 2 teenage girls. So they actually all run themselves now. So they won't necessarily, my son will come running with me, and he's good company when he's not. He laughed at me the other day. Believe it, he laughed at me. And I took him running up in one of the parks. And he was like, "Oh, Mum, you're trying to keep up, aren't you?" Really? And my daughters, one of them, the middle one, can't bear distance running, so she just she's really fast, but she just does sprinting and won't come anywhere near me. And my oldest one is slower than the rest, but is quite kind of went off. She's trying to do a half marathon. She's nearly 16, so she's doing sort of 9 miles, 10 miles, 11 miles, and just goes off and does it on her own, which is great.
Brilliant. It's great. I mean, when I was running, I think I found that having had kids, the space was really important. And actually, I've only ever run one ultramarathon, and I did Comrades, and I did that when
I was supposed to be doing that this year. That's not going to be happening, is it?
I know, and Paul St. Hugh was meant to be doing it as well, and Vassos. So
I know he was coming with me.
And I think doing the ultramarathon, I don't think I would have done it had I not just had Aston either. I think it was something I really craved, the space, you know, from just being, well, I say just being a mum. Being a mum's wonderful, isn't it? But needing to run. And I also feel like I probably wasn't ready for it. So it's funny, isn't it, that later on, the time to run those kind of things can sometimes be later on in your life when, you know, like my mum's thinking, you're crazy, you know, I was 40 when I had Aston. So, you know, what are you doing running an ultramarathon? You should be at home and learning how to knit and, you know, doing all of those things. And of course, running's definitely one of the things that, you know, just gave me this space and it was wonderful. And actually, you know, like, it's interesting looking at your PBs. You were just saying it's 2031, you know, are there aspirations to, you know, sneak under 20 minutes one
I'd
day?
like to go under 20. I don't know if I've quite got that in me yet, but anyway, or I don't know if I could do that, but I would like to do it. That's hard work. You'd have to, I mean, I'm getting faster. That's what is I found extraordinary about running, is that, you know, from when I started when I was 38, my half marathon was 2 hours and 6 minutes, I think, when I did the Great North Run, and I thought I was brilliant. I finished a half marathon, I couldn't believe it. And now when did I do it? In January, I did 1:34. Wow. So, and that's, you know, that was more than 10 years later. And I never thought that would be possible. So I think it does. I do train hard, and I have a coach who writes me a plan. I'm not following any plan. I've still got my coach, but he's not writing me a plan at the moment because there's no point. I've got nothing to train for. And I'm just sort of getting around work. But I do train hard, and what he sets me, I do. And it's probably 5 times a week, up to 50 miles a week. And I find that if I follow his plan, I can achieve what I want. He's very good. And it's literally just by email.
So do you, at the minute, in the current situation, are you still doing 50 miles a week, or are you just so busy you're just squeezing it in?
No. I'm running a lot because I run to work, so I'm almost finding it easy. I'm definitely running every day, and I probably am doing at least 40, maybe up to 50. I've done 50 a couple of times in the last few weeks, but you know, if I run 6-7 times a week, I can do that with my commute.
Yeah, and fit it in around the kids, because it's you know, it's better than being on the tube anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you were due to debut representing England as a Masters athlete at Fleet Half earlier this year, and it was cancelled the day before.
No.
I mean, how did that come around?
No, well, that was so I did the Masters, which is I knew about from another friend of mine, Kate Carter, who is a runner. And she told me about it, and there's a one for the marathon. It's Masters, and anyone over 35. So they have the different categories. And if you register with them and tell them that you want to try and get into one of their teams to run either 10K, half marathon, or marathon, and then there are 4 races every year. So they tell you which 4 that you have to go to. And then you have to come in the top 4 of your age group, which I did. So I came second in my age group. And I got the T-shirt, and we had the race. Fleet was the day we were going to have the actual England race, and then it got cancelled the day before because of coronavirus. I think it was March the 14th or 15th it was supposed to be. So I never got to run it. But I got the shirt.
What does that mean? You know, if you know what will happen with
I was an almost England athlete. How about that? That would go. I never thought I'd have an England shirt, let alone an almost England race. But,
I mean, you've got the shirt.
Anyway.
I think you should put it.
Yeah.
I think you can put that down on your CV.
Yeah, shall I put it on my CV? What the hell?
I think one of the really interesting things, obviously, is you are a BBC broadcaster, which means that you address the nation on a daily basis. And like you were saying earlier, which is really interesting, is, you know, you break these kind of news stories to people, and these huge ones, which you were saying, this is unprecedented. It's going to be the word of the 2020, isn't it? Unprecedented must be used all the time. But what does that actually feel like when you know you're going to deliver such huge news?
It was really it was very it was very sobering. The first few weeks in particular. I mean, I think there was a sort of everyone felt quite stunned by what was going on, and watching the scenes from Italy and Spain, and because they were 2 weeks ahead of us, and these great, the health service in Italy being overrun, the intensive care units, and huge numbers of people dying, and just sort of getting to grips with not only what was happening there, but what potentially was about to happen and has happened here. It was hard. It was really intense. It was very difficult, and it was, I mean, just in very practical terms, the Downing Street briefing that takes place every day at 5 o'clock. When we do the 6 o'clock news, it was really hard turning it around. So I mean, most people, I write what I read, or a lot of what I read. All the presenters are very much involved editorially, so we have to write the headlines and the cues and the top cue, and so that was quite stressful, getting all that down and working out what the top lines were, and getting on air. It was all quite fraught, and there was no, this is what I was saying before, there was no sort of downtime after, because you can't switch off from it. You then go home to your family who are locked down. My kids, my low point was when I got home after about, I don't know, 5 days into it, and my children produced this game called Pandemic. No, I'm not. I have just spent all day doing this. I didn't even know that game existed. They had this board game called Pandemic. I thought, I'm really not playing Pandemic with you. Forget that.
And how do you avoid taking it home? Is it, you said it's difficult to switch off. I mean, do you go home and then talk about it, with your husband and your kids?
No, I run. I think I run. I mean, I do. I run, or no, I don't. I try and read stuff. Although I found that quite hard as well. I don't really need to talk about it any more than we've already done, and especially when you've been in here all day, that's plenty. I think I think like everybody, it's hard for everybody. You just get used to it. You do sort of get used to coping with it, and
the new normal.
Yeah.
And just before we started at 7:15, I've seen the incredible pictures you've taken, and I know you're talking about your kind of journeys into and out of London. So just if you could just repeat that again for people who hadn't joined at that time, So what was that like? I
started running from day one really of lockdown. I was running in rather than taking the tube, and it was so eerie. And I'd run in and go along. I don't know, go through I'd change my routes every day, but go past Trafalgar Square, empty, nobody there. I could run down the road. I mean, imagine going down through Westminster, and I was running in the road. Past the Cenotaph, no traffic, taking photographs and not having to wait at all for there to be no cars. I went to Covent Garden, which I've never run around Covent Garden because it's always teeming with people, and there was absolutely nobody there. And it was eerie. It was very strange. And I've lived in this city most of my life, and it was literally jaw dropping. I'd come over, I don't know, crossed over onto the South Bank one day and was coming down the stairs, and there was just no one there by the wheel. And I literally started talking to myself, because it was almost like being on a film set. It just didn't seem real. It was a film set.
Yeah.
I could see all my life, all these sort of memories of what I'd done over the past, over years. I could see all these sort of piling up. It was a really strange sensation. I could just see things that had happened. You had this empty film set, and you sort of put on it what had happened.
Yeah.
Very weird experience.
Really,
it's changed. It's definitely changed now, though.
I think, which is really interesting too. But I think the one that got me out of that whole set was probably the Covent Garden one, because it was
with
so
the seats.
empty. It's the empty seats, isn't it? But it's the people that make it Covent Garden, isn't it?
Yeah,
in that one,
totally.
Because of course, you see the buildings and they kind of speak for themselves. But Covent Garden you can feel the atmosphere because the people are in there.
I'm going to go back. Somebody suggested to me that I should go back, and so we'll find out on Sunday what is happening with lockdown. But as we get near the end of lockdown, I should go back and take a few of those photographs again, but see how much has changed before lockdown's finished, or maybe when lockdown's over.
And you said that it does feel different already. It's just in terms of there being more people out and about now.
Definitely more cars in the street. I mean, this is anecdotal, although actually it shows it in the graphs, but there are definitely more cars in the street. There are more people in town. I don't think I would. It's still very empty compared to what it normally is, but I think I would struggle to get the complete empty streets that I got before, just 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. And I think everybody that listens will be a runner or a park runner, or friend, family, everybody, but mostly interested in the kind of park run community and everything that comes with it, and everybody's missing their parkrun fix.
I
And
know, I miss my parkrun.
and coffee on a Saturday and that kind of leisurely, friendly, open chat. Everybody's really missing it, and I think we've all had to find kind of things that are going to make us feel better. So I know that you do run, and presumably most people here do still get out and run and walk for that headspace. But, you know, have you got any tips that you could give people who are listening who are maybe struggling to motivate themselves to get out and run? Or...
I know that, I think that is hard. The motivation is quite hard, and because I all my other races I was going to do London Marathon. You know, I saw some people asking here on these questions. Do I think it's going to go ahead? I have no inside knowledge at all. But I mean, October, who knows? And Berlin Marathon they said was going to go ahead at the end of September, and they cancelled that. I really hope London does happen. I did their media launch for them with the 40th. You know, it's the 40th anniversary. It would be such a shame if it doesn't happen. But will we be having crowds on the streets of London in October? I have no idea. So, and it's quite difficult because when you don't know that something's happening or not, then you lose the drive to get out there. But I suppose, I've just been trying to keep my mileage up. That's my main thing. And my daughter devised, so my daughter devised her a plan, which actually was quite clever. She decided that when we did a long run a few weeks ago, and she wanted to do 11 miles. She had that figure in her head, so she decided we were going to do a tube run. So she made me run the tube. So we went along the district line into town, and we had to stop at each tube station. So I had to take her to each tube station. We took a photo, and actually it was a really good way of doing it. It was entertaining, and it was quite funny, and we had a goal. Because I think sometimes that's what's missing. You don't have the goal.
Yeah. Well, I think because everything's cancelled, isn't it? And but you've got all that fitness, and you love running, so it's quite. But at the same time, the motivation to do it, it's a bit like not being able to run hard at parkrun because there isn't a load of people chasing you. It's the weirdest thing, isn't it? It's the same thing as, well, what's the point? Because my race is cancelled. But actually, you know, I suppose just getting out the door is the hardest bit. Once you're out the door, you know, you need somebody we've seen loads of inventive things. You know, people have been just running in their gardens because they need to stay inside, or they've been running up and down in their house, or, you know, the tube one's great. If you live in London, that's a great idea to do.
Somebody just messaging there saying it's kind of liberating not having races of the weekend. And that is actually true as well. And not, you know, I've literally said to my coach, don't give me, that's fine. You don't need to give me any plans. So in a way that it is quite nice to have that pressure taken off. I keep it on myself to go and run, but it is quite liberating. I agree with whoever that was. That it's quite liberating in one sense.
Yeah. And I think lots of things that have been taken away has made life liberating. You know, even, you know, in our small family, just not having to be at martial arts or swimming or running in from school to kind of, you know, quick, you've got to go out and you've got this now and you've got this now and there's no time and we haven't got to be anywhere, which is the weirdest thing. But I suppose the work for you is what gives you normality.
My life is still quite normal. I mean, I still have to come into work and I'm still doing my shifts and I'm still with my friends and colleagues here. So I like that. I'm really grateful for that. And I think, but I can see having, you know, we've got VE Day coming up on Friday and we filmed a lot of it last week. And I was up there, it was amazing. In lockdown London, I was in Buckingham Palace in the quadrangle filming with all these artists. It's beautiful. It's on Friday night. You should watch it. It's a great night. Really, it's amazing. All these sort of singers but what really struck me was the number of people who were coming in who had not been out of their homes for 6-7 weeks and who were quite nervous about coming into town. And I think, so I sort of feel quite lucky in one sense that I've been able to just carry on quite normally.
It'll,
you know, I don't have that fear of coming into town at all. I've still been going on the tube, which is eerie as anything. It's empty, totally empty. When I go home, sometimes I go on the tube and there's just nobody on it. Me and about maybe 3 people. It's very strange.
So, Sophie, I'm aware of time and the fact that you are very busy. So let's go to some viewer questions because we've seen lots of lovely ones coming in here. Morag Chan says, now you've started listening to music on runs, what's your favourite song to run to?
I don't have a favourite. I have lots of dance music, just sort of beats. I don't really have a particular favourite, or I listen to the radio. I've been listening, coming in listening to the World at 1, or if I'm coming in for doing the 6, so I kind of keep up to date with it in there. Saying, do I run in the middle of the road? Yes, I do. I know that's really naughty.
Well, not when there aren't any cars. Danny Tolhurst, he says, how have you coped not being able to run with other people?
I really miss running with my friends. Susie Chan, my great friend, and she lives out in the country. And it's both of our birthdays coming up. Our birthdays are 5 days apart. We've been great mates since we met on a plane to the Boston Marathon in 2014. And we have been the best of friends since. And we ran the Marathon des Sables together. We did all those world majors together. And we always run together. And we can't run. I can't run with her. So one of the things I'm looking forward to more than anything is just being able to get out into the country and run with my friends, because I love that. We're a gang of us to go running and go and have coffee, and it's really sad. It's really sad. So anyway, I think our first time in years, we're not going to run together on her birthday or my birthday, which is very
You'll have
strange.
to have a double celebration
afterwards. We could do a virtual run.
Good FaceTime while you run.
Yeah, FaceTime run, yeah.
Run Talk Run Victoria, she asks, which was your favourite of the major marathon, excluding London, of course, as hometowns always win?
She's quite right. A favourite, I don't have one favourite, but the Boston was obviously amazing because it's Boston and you have to qualify, and it was the first I did outside London. Loved Tokyo. That was fantastic. Susie and I did Tokyo, and we actually did it as a training run for London. So we did it a bit slower. We did it a bit slower than we were going to run London later on. So we just had fun, and that was really, we had a great time out there as well. So those are probably my two other favourites. They were all great. They were all there. I loved that project. I wish I had another project like that, because I like a medal for a start. I like the big medal that they gave you at the end. But it was a lovely project and a lovely thing to be able to do. Not that we're going to be able to travel very far for quite a long time.
We're going to have to make some new races up. Running Girl Sam says, what's been your lowest moment as a runner and how did you get through it?
Injury is the worst. I'm such a bad injured runner, and I haven't been that injured, touch wood. I had one terrible Achilles injury where I kind of couldn't run for 6 months, but that was because I wore trainers that were wrong for me and I hadn't realised it was the trainers, and so that took me out for months. And then the two injuries I had more recently were as a result of skiing, which is not a great sport to do when you're a runner. So I fractured my shoulder, and then 2 years ago, I ended up running the London Marathon with a fractured shoulder because I didn't realise it was fractured, but it certainly got me to the finish line faster because it really hurt. And then my other one was a couple of years ago, and I sprained my ankle. I think it was last year actually. I sprained my ankle, so I couldn't do the London Marathon. That was only the second time I'd missed it, because I get in the Good for Age scheme, and it was only the second time I'd missed it in years, and that was awful. I'm so bad. I get so impatient, and I always think that's it and I'll never run again.
Yeah, I'm grumpy as well when I can't run. Justin Burns, he asks, what is your next running goal and what's on your bucket list? Well, I mean, that's...
Well, I was supposed to be running London Marathon last week, 2 weeks ago. London Marathon I had in the diary. I was supposed to be flying to Durban to do Comrades, the 54 or 56 mile ultra.
56, yeah.
56, all in one day. I've escaped that. So that I was really looking forward to in the middle of June. Then I was going to go and do the UTMB, the small one, the Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc, which is at the end of August. That still hasn't been cancelled, but I don't know. And I had loads of races lined up. I have no races lined up anymore. Nothing apart from London Marathon if it goes ahead.
And you can't really even guess when everything, major things like that will start again. There's not even you can't even pluck anything out really.
The thing you can do, which I now love doing, and it's mainly through my friends who I've been running with recently, is trail running. So as a city runner, trail running is wonderful, and I've discovered the Ordnance Survey app. So if anyone is after sort of when you can actually go somewhere again, the Ordnance Survey app is brilliant. You download it, and then I think I had to pay 20 quid a year, but it shows you all the footpaths anywhere in the country. So I can literally turn up anywhere and plot a route on my Ordnance Survey map, take my phone with me, follow the route, and go for miles on footpaths.
Anywhere you want.
Anywhere I want. So that's quite fun.
You could do
I tell you what I haven't done. My challenge I haven't done. So I did the Thames Path. I was going to run from the source to the sea, which was something I came up with not this new year, the new year before. In a hungover moment, I saw a picture of source to the sea, and I thought I should do that. So I've almost done that. I've got an 8-mile stretch of that, which I've yet to finish from Oxford to Abingdon. But apart from that, I've finished to the Thames Barrier, and then I've got to get from the Thames Barrier to the sea. So there you go. You've just made me think I've got something I need to complete. That could be my next challenge.
the next challenge. There you are, Justin Burns. There it goes. One Kerry Liam says, seeing so many comments on here, saying how inspiring you are. How does it feel when someone tells you you're an inspirational figure?
It's so funny. That's the word that nobody ever used that word with me at all. It always makes me smile. It's very kind of people. I don't feel, it doesn't feel, I don't feel that. I mean, I don't feel, it's funny to be told that when you're just going out and running, but it's lovely. I mean, it's great. God, if I can encourage and inspire people to go running, fantastic. And they all tease me here because I make them go running. I've given them such a hard time.
Do you make everybody run? Have you
Well,
got like a
yeah, I badger them. They're all they badger and I get them in. No, it's very, very kind. I mean, I hope I want the people I want to inspire are people like me who didn't start running until much later in life. So I was 38, as I said before, and and Susie Chan was 30. I think she's the same age, 37 and 38, and she was unfit and a smoker, and both of us discovered running. And I hope that people, I'm 52. No, I'm not 52. I'm nearly 52, and I hope that I can encourage people my age to start, because it's not too late. And I've got a great friend called Jackie Millett, who is now, I think she must be about 65. She didn't start till she was 57. I met her at Parkrun in Richmond.
Brilliant.
And she started when she was 57. She got the hang of it, thought, oh, I can do that. And she's now run more than 200 marathons. And she's just astonishing. She's amazing. And she loves it. She has absolutely. She's also a psychiatrist, which I love.
So if you go for a run, you can get a therapy session for free.
Yeah, exactly.
Indian Girl Runs says, "What's your most inspiring story from COVID?" Mine is Captain Tom.
Well, Captain Tom is wonderful. He is amazing. Inspiring story. That's a difficult one. I mean, there are so many. I am constantly inspired by my friends who are working. So I've got one of my best friends is a surgeon, a trauma surgeon, a plastic surgeon, but not of that kind of the sort of children who've been injured, plastic surgery. And she went off, and just the story she's told me about working on the ward, she had to be retrained to use ventilators. She was going into hospital every day. And my neighbour is also working with the intensive care units at another London hospital. So I think they're the people who really inspire me, because they just go in, get on with it and do it. And they really are, I keep having people saying to me, keep safe and you're brave going to work. I don't feel brave at all, and I don't feel unsafe here. But, my friends who are going into work in hospitals where there's COVID everywhere are fantastic. Kat Simpson, who is the wonderful, if anybody knows her, lovely, somebody else I met at Parkrun, as an ultra runner, brilliant ultra runner. She's a nurse and she's doing the same. So all those people, they're the ones who inspire me.
Brilliant. And a great question from Danny, who does ask about your other newsreaders in there. Are any of them enthusiastic park runners?
I mean, having think through, no. I think Louise Minchin. So Louise Minchin lives up in the northwest. So because their breakfast goes from Salford. I think she might have done parkrun. And
yeah, she's a triathlete, isn't she?
She's a brilliant triathlete. Yeah, she's a really good triathlete. There are certainly people here who do parkrun, and I think there are some radio presenters who do parkrun. But George Ellegar, no, not got him there. Hugh Edwards, no, not got him there. And Fiona Bruce, no, not got her there either. I tried, but I'll keep going.
Fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant, Sophie. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks to everybody who's joined us. Do check out the many parkrun social media channels in the UK and across the world, as well as subscribing to the various parkrun podcasts out there. You'll find me, as I said earlier, on the Free Weekly Time podcast, but check out With Me Now, Parkrun Adventurers and the 9:30 Club, just to name a few others. Now, more than ever, it's important that we all come together and support each other. The Parkrun family is there for us all, and we will get through this together. Thanks so much, Sophie.
I love all the comments I'm reading here. Somebody's saying, I'm going to write a book. I'm supposed to be writing a book. I need to start doing that. And somebody else who said they're 56 and they've just started running at the start of lockdown. See, that's the kind of story
Brilliant.
I like.
Yeah,
lockdown
brilliant.
Runners. Can you imagine what parkrun is going to be like when we go back, though? It's going to be rammed.
It will be rammed. Well, it'll either be rammed or people will be too scared to go back. So it's going to be...
No. We'll be all right. It'll be all right. Eventually, we'll be all right. We'll get back.
Well, we look forward to seeing you back, pacing the streets and getting a sub-20 as well.
I've got to run home now, though.
feel buoyed by the love from everybody.
I hope the sun is still out. Anyway, all right. Very nice talking to you.
Thanks, Sophie.
Bye.
Bye-bye.